Hello guys, welcome to the Train Parrot and to another episode of the weekly TA Live. We just had a little bit of a hiccup earlier. There was an engineer that came to my flat to fix something and I wasn't really aware that he arrived and he got the electricity, started doing the things while we were doing all this TA. We do this TA once a week. It's 1 hour long and I invite all my Patreon members, not all my Patreon members, actually only the elite members are invited to these private sessions. And they not just get the perk of being able to join live and be right here. I have you all guys in my chat. So anytime that you want, you can ask questions about the TA that we are doing, but also they get the benefit of deciding which coins we do TA. So you get offered this poll, and in the poll today, we have a bunch of coins that we're going to do TA, of course, starting with SUI, then we're going to go into DOGE, Solana, FARTCOIN, ONDO, PENGU, Virtuals, Ethereum, and XRP. If you want to be part of this community and get the option to choose your own coins, of course, you can find the link in the description to join my Patreon. And remember to join as an elite to get part of this. Notice that next week on Thursday is the only day of the month, the last Thursday of every month, that we're going to do something different. Instead of doing TA on all coins, we're going to focus on Pine scripts. We're going to do this once a month. We already did that once, covering areas that are a bit more technical, lean towards automation and how to build strategies with PineScript, how to deploy them and stuff like that. Members again have the option to vote for different topics around that area. Next week, that's what we're going to be doing. So let's get started with the first coin. That's going to be SUI, which I was looking into the chart and I was already kind of in a good mood to see that things are looking more or less how we were expecting to look by the end of this week. So the last time that we did TA on SUI, we were seeing that we were in the context of a revenge rally, okay? And I'm starting to call this the RRR method. Why is RRR? Because we have the reclaim, we have the revenge and the retest as well. And this time is a revenge, right? We lost the support. And before we lost the electricity, the previous time I did the live stream, I was mentioning that in the past, SUI has done 2 times a rally from bottom of the range into top of the range. And we were thinking, are we going to really get a third time the same thing in the same way? And we say, well, that's possible. We could do it below the lost support, like these red lines in here. It's less likely that we reclaim and we go straight up like if nothing ever happened because we lost support. And we didn't do it in the earlier rallies into top of the range. They were very impulsive from the very beginning. On the second time, there was a double bottom, but still no broken structure so early. This time, the structure kind of broke in a decent way. We went into 60 and it broke below 50. We went to 44. And from there, we already completed that revenge rally. So what's next? That's what we're going to be looking into. Ideally, after this possible rejection, we are not fully confirmed, right? This is an intra candle that is pointing below 58. So if this week we actually close at 56 or any lower than that, we're going to confirm the pivot and the rejection. The price intra candle went beyond that. So let's say the resistance was at around $4 and we went up to 4.24 and we came back down. So there is a chance that we continue with the rally, but that of course we need to see this weekly candle to close above the 58 that we are, okay? So at the moment it's a rejection, but intra candle only. If we settle that above that line, then wow, that's an incredible amount of effort to lose this support and suddenly reclaim it and still carry on. So that's why we say that that has less likelihood. Now, the option of here having an ABC wave starting from 60, I will say is less likely than just to continue. Let me think a bit more on this. So it is decently likely now that we're going to see a rejection on 58. That's the highest likely scenario. Now, what we need to discuss is whether we're going to see a higher low in continuation to upside. So can we do something decent from here, or are we due now for a deeper correction on SUI? So I guess we need to focus on that. At the moment, we are on the price action facing the resistance at $4. We couldn't close beyond the $4. So far for the week, we are not holding the 3.8. And let's see here. So we have a deeper correction than the golden pocket. We held the white line. We broke out from here. And this is looking like a retest. It's coming as low as 3.5. That is good. That 3.5 holding is a bullish support in my opinion, because it's in confluence with all this trading volume in here. So we exit from the trading range of being at 3.4 and we went up to 4.2, and we're seeing some challenges there. We are seeing a new rejection from the same highs, and we are coming back to 3.5 to test support. So what we need to prevent in this range is that we don't end up doing the same as we did in here, which is to go all the way back to 2.3. So far we are doing the same as this candle, as the 3.6 that held there. Then this one held 3.4, and I want to quickly prove that we can do something like this. I don't want this to bleed back into the lows, and if we did something like that, ideally I want to defend the $3. So somewhere around here, that will be my last line in the sense to say, well, that's still within the bullish structure on the weekly. Notice that we have one support in here, one there. So this one coming in this area, I will say it's still okay-ish, right? The most bullish retest will be if we hold the 3.5 and we go back into business to try to overcome this resistance at $4. Notice that volume has a depression in here, so the next resistance is going to be probably at 4.7. So if we manage to hold 3.5 and stay there for a little bit as we approach August, then that 4.7 shouldn't be that difficult. If we go into $3, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but not the end of the world. If we break this white line, then we start getting into decent trouble, right? Getting into 2.3, into $2 again. That definitely sets all this rally as a very erratic one, a lot more complicated than the previous ones that were very straightforward going into the top of the range. And there is that risk, right? That retail are going to think that we're going to get it as easier as before. Notice as well that the longs are facing that resistance, the 49. And if we manage to reclaim the 49 around here, that is pretty big, because we were holding that level very, very well, and we came back down into support into 40, and this 49 rejecting us, then that's how things can get a little bit into the gray area. But reclaiming this line in here, it means that the bulls are stepping back in a similar way of the two previous waves. So that increases the chances we have for still doing something okay in this rally into the top of the range, as opposed to just having an ugly rejection in a lot more trouble. And in terms of socials, how things are looking, well, I'm speculating that we are in this channel, and socials, well, from this end, it looks like it's been taking a decent dip. So attention has moved probably into other altcoins recently. We are on the lower end here on the volatility index coming from the Crosby ratio. It's getting very close to an area of a buy signal. So this has continued to bleed lower, despite the fact that momentum has already started going up in price as well. We should be picking up at some point in here to validate the move up as well. That's another thing that we need to keep an eye on SUI. Let's look into liquidation levels. This is another important thing that we need to talk about, guys. On the daily, SUI is forming this stopping pattern right underneath the liquidity. It's telling us quite similar story as Bitcoin, right? Because on Bitcoin we had from the highs a breakdown in here. Now we are trading. If you watch my past 2 days videos, you're gonna see that we are in a similar picture. We are breaking down and we're trying to do revenge rallies and all of that. SUI is doing pretty much the same. It breaks down in here, it does a revenge rally, and it's putting new lows. So this, we could say that SUI is still in a bull flag. The bull flag is kind of like this. So we obviously want a breakout and continuation into the liquidity. But we are in the context of the momentum having stepped down significantly significantly. Although SUI doesn't have a bearish divergence, Bitcoin put a high in here and it cost Bitcoin to confirm a bearish divergence, whereas SUI is in a channel down but lower highs as well, and that's interesting. This, I will say, I'm gonna be a little bit forgiving with SUI, and I'm gonna move the line like this to make it, overlap with the move up, and I will say that this is the breakdown, not this one, because if I do it like this, we could argue that we already have the revenge rally, and I will say I prefer to see the revenge rally from here, because it's a little bit gray area. Not very clear that is the revenge rally, and if we get a revenge rally from here into top, probably we can already wipe all that liquidity. That's why I'm doing that. So revenge rally is very likely in here. We got a decent chance that we can wipe the highs in here, and I'm talking about beyond $4.2 and still continue losing momentum. Let's see liquidity on the lower end on short time frames. So we got some liquidity at 318, but still we have very heavy, and this is short term. So short term is overlapping with long term right above the highs of 4.3, and it feels like a low hanging fruit that it's achievable within a revenge. And the revenge usually is fueled by the shorts rushing too much and entering at the lows with not necessarily the largest leverage. Sometimes they just entered with 5x from here, and that is already exposing their liquidation levels at 4.4 and roughly higher, and that it's already something that we can exploit and take the long against them. Of course, do not take a long to hit that liquidity from the highs. You take it from a new low, right? So this 3.6, if you wanted to target that liquidity, you will have entered on the first low, and in here you failed, and you get another opportunity to average down in here, right? So your risk remains lower than if you start hitting that liquidity from the high. You enter at 4.2 and they drag you down into 3.5, and you're already in big risk, right? Particularly if you are using leverage. So watch out with that. Let me see if I'm missing anything important on SUI as well. If you have any questions, of course, if you are in the live as an elite member, just drop me your questions on the top. I hope people didn't get confused with the new link. I put it on Patreon, by the way. And let's go with the next coin. The next coin is going to be DOGE, and I should be speeding up with the TA so we can manage to cover all the coins today. Let's go with the next one, which is DOGE. Right, so we have good progress as well with DOGE. I'm just seeing the chart. I haven't seen it in a couple of days. We had this double bottom formation. We had the breakout, and I updated the neckline to be 24 cents, and we could say that out of a 0.1 target, out of the 45%, we have done already 22. So roughly 50% of the target is already done, and the price came back down. We could say it looks like a retest, this one in particular, because it exited from the neckline and it came back and is still holding above that 24. And in my opinion, that is healthy, okay? If we start closing the weekly back at 22 or slightly lower, we're gonna make this double bottom formation look a bit like a fake out, and that is not great. What have we achieved? Well, we managed to exit as the volume comes down, and in this area where we start the next heel of volume is where we're gonna see the first challenge, probably hitting as well with this resistance. If we hold this support of 24, that's where we need to be looking into. That's why I'm already envisioning how much higher we can get thanks to holding that, assuming that by the end of the week we are still holding. And all of that is an exercise assuming that you were accumulating at the lows and now you're in profit. So you need to be thinking on protecting your gains and where to place your stop loss to trail, or even if you want to add as you are retesting to average up, scale up your position. All those considerations of risk and all of that are very relevant to that group of people. Let's go into liquidation levels on DOGE past 3 months. Let's leave this loading, and here I'm gonna have to drop it to scalping, and I got just 1 hour. Yeah, correct. Let's exclude that level there. Right, so we have a decent rally into 28, and we're coming back down, taking all the significant liquidity. There's just a little bit left at 22 cents, but after that we really need to go below 20 cents to take the rest. So ideally we find support right there where we previously obviously have resistance, we take that liquidity and we resume our way up. That will be healthy for Doge. And let me see, where was that? So if we go into 22, we've been already in 22, but slightly lower and pinch right below that. That is fine, intra-candle. So we can put a new low within this intra-candle price action that we are having this week. But the condition is let's close above 24, above this line, to make sure that we give that impression to investors that we are holding the retest. That is very, very critical to have an immediate upside and to stop, to push back on the idea that we're going to start either ranging in this area or that we are going to break down and fake out that move to the upside. Let me see what's going on with longs versus shorts. We are approaching the middle line. When was this? So we were in here last week. New longs are coming in. There is no step back from the longs. They are in pain because the price has moved down, but they are still around the middle of the range. There's still plenty of room to expand. Having said that, the expansion is not always coming as a single movement up without any retracement of the longs. I don't take that for granted. Notice that as you cross the middle line is where we start having all this shakeout and still you can move up. It's always good to observe the previous behavior in past performance to try to understand why people are doing the same things later on. In terms of socials, we are kind of in the middle, and in terms of volatility, we pinch a very extreme level of volatility recently with this move down in here where we formed the double bottom, and that was calling for the best entry on Doge. So if you enter at the second low, which was slightly higher than this one, that was the best entry, the best risk to reward. That overlapping as well with less longs and all of that is keeping you now in the best position on Doge. If you're trying to re-enter, I will say anywhere, re-enter fresh position. I usually get that question. I will say on a retracement into previous resistance, now turning into support could be an opportunity. Of course, at higher risk than entering at the lows, but better than trying to enter at the top. It's always like that. It's a compromise. And on the top end, unfortunately, we are not going to see long-term liquidation levels, but I will say after we are done with this wave down, the first levels that we're going to target is 30 cents on Doge, and I want to see where is that on the weekly. So 30 cents is slightly higher in here. Obviously, that's where we have that liquidity, and let me speculate where we are going to have the largest pools, the long-term pools. They're going to be probably around 44 cents. In between 44 cents and 50 cents is where there's going to be the largest pool, because, you know, they managed to get away with a movement of 73%, but as they close the positions, when they see the price is reverting into bullish, that is going to freak them out and it's going to contribute to attract the price into the highs of 50 cents. At 53 cents, we have the expansion of 1, taking in consideration the lows of 12, and the golden pocket is at around 78. So those are targets pretty bullish relative to this market. The structure of Doge looks decent. It's all higher lows and higher highs, so I don't have any reason to think that we cannot do it again. And when it comes to the RSI, we have similar pattern. We are still far from the full retest of 51. We still have some headroom to allow the RSI to do a slightly deeper correction up until we get into 52. I will say still healthy. That's probably not gonna look as good on the price, but if we were to close slightly lower in here, maybe we can get into 20 cents, and at that point the RSI is gonna meet with this green line, and I'm gonna probably say at that point that's the last line in the sand before we start completely breaking things. The target was 66, and that in here was, if I still have it, no, 66, slightly lower. Currently that is priced at 34 cents, and it's also in perfect confluence with the technical target of the double bottom, 34 cents. So that is what should come next. But remember that we have the beginning of the volume is at 31. At that point we have the first resistance intense, and given that we have achieved already a 50%, I think we are still looking healthy. Let's go with Solana now. And again, if there are any specific questions about any of the coins I'm covering, I've got you right there in the chat. Nat is saying, I was expecting a rally up to $5 and then big bigger pullback in August, September for SUI. That 5 plus target is feeling so far away now. Well, yeah, things take a little bit of time, and I think, in the price, things are not looking that bad, right? So it's just a breakout in here. It's just in the momentum that is not looking that healthy. I still think that SUI is gonna do something. It's just that what is special about this timing for SUI? What's special? Well, Ethereum did really crap in these two rallies. Solana did decent, and they were overlapping between SUI and Solana taking the spotlight. Now Ethereum is in the house and is smashing the table, and I feel like potentially that is what's slowing down the performance of SUI. But I don't see that as something bad for SUI. I'm just seeing it as is stepping back to allow Ethereum dominance to expand and improve itself. And I think Ethereum has done great. So possibly a rally on SUI is gonna just look different. It's gonna look below this white line and a little bit diminished because it's allowing all that flow going into a much larger cap moving. Maybe I'm just, BSing. Sometimes I am, but that's kind of my view of things. It's not my I know it all because I really don't know. Right, so I cover Doge, I covered that. I'm gonna go back into Solana. Let's see how far we got with Solana. Woo, looking good that. Socials, alright, so there's a bunch of things that are good. When did this happen? End of June. Right, let's start with RSI. Okay, so RSI has been higher this week. It went probably a lot higher. Let's see how high it went. We have tools so we can use them. So this is tracking the close. Let's track the high. So yeah, definitely went slightly higher. Let's put it back to close. So Solana is about to confirm a global breakout, guys. So that is big, okay? And last week we closed below the resistance. We were calling for a move into the resistance, and we are kind of potentially looking like we're gonna confirm that this week. So if this week the market remains okay-ish, we don't need the market to be crazily bullish, Solana could have a decent move up. And let me see if I have the chart of Solana over Ethereum in here. Yeah, that's the one. This is extremely cool. Look at the performance of Solana over Ethereum, and I mean the same for SUI. Solana coming back down in here against Ethereum. That's the bear market, and then all the way up overperforming Ethereum, and now it's stepping back decently from a channel up in a bearish structure because it's almost looking like an ascending wedge, and you're breaking down, confirming, and just carrying on to the downside. We're gonna meet with some support in here at 0.04, and we've been bouncing slightly from this area of 0.05. So it's the first decent green candle that we have all the way down, and after seeing Ethereum taking back power, we saw a breakdown. The breakdown against Ethereum started around May. We covered that in the channel. I remember talking about this breakdown, and we have continued so far. My overview, what my expectation for is Solana against Ethereum. If you're wondering, why are you doing this thing against Ethereum? Who cares? I want to make dollars, not Ethereum. The ratio is extremely important if you want to flip between Solana and Ethereum and try to time what to hold or ratios to hold. Or if you are, for example, invested now big in Ethereum and you want to time when to start flipping into Solana, this could help answering those things. And I'm expecting to see around this range in here, the Solana to start, if we start seeing a bottom information on Solana in here, I will expect this to rally into resistance and hopefully break out and start going higher. And that expectation is based on my assumption that in October we should see very bullish times for everything, not just for Ethereum, not just for Bitcoin. This whole cycle has been just Bitcoin, but now into everything, and then do the full script of the flow of money in crypto, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, larger caps, lower caps, meme coins, and all of that. And by timing, let's say this bottoms around September and in October starts getting very bullish and it rallies against the resistance, and then everything goes nuts. And the way everything could go nuts is that Solana starts overperforming Ethereum with a breakout like this. So that's what I'm looking for, and it could help you have a better timing in reallocating portfolios, not necessarily for trading, but maybe you have a bag of Ethereum and another one of Solana, and you can time better those compensating and rebalancing. So now we have this breakout. This breakout could help forming that double bottom. If we close the weekly below resistance resistance. That's still bullish for Solana. If we close slightly above, it's great. If we close really high, super bullish for Solana. If we see a move back down in here, we are pointing up now, but let's put the patch before the wound, and let's imagine this closes the week like this. That is still okay. So the way I protect the move up is I put a line like this. So anything that we need to do bearish, let's do it above this white line. Let's continue doing things like that, and we should be fine. What I mean by fine is let's not do something like this and then let's put a lower low, and let's not puke in this direction, right? That is a little bit too late to start doing it in the cycle. We are running out of time to see good things. So let's protect that with this line, and let's allow some room to go down up until 46, but not lower than that on the weekly. What's going on with this rejection? I will say we just did something really bullish on Solana. We reclaimed, we flipped this area, right? So all this line is previous resistance, now is support, and we are just facing the next level of resistance, and we're seeing a rejection. There is a depression in here, so it's tough, guys, to get there. All my hopes were into breaking 180 and hopefully putting a weekly close somewhere within the golden pocket. The golden pocket is from 200 more or less into 220. It's a 25, how big is this? Yeah, $24 wide golden pocket. And if we close within that, we are already giving the idea that this is not a dead cat bounce. Dead cat bounce, I will already start discarding it because we already made it there. All we need to do now is put a weekly close in here to fully settle it. So it's looking good. And remember, on Solana, I say it's underperforming other coins. So it looks bullish relative to itself, but not as bullish relative to other coins that are doing much better things. And we'll find other coins. Try to memorize visually this chart, how it looks. The first thing that stands out is this, right? A massive breakdown, and now just trying to revenge against the lost support. It's okay. It's not that bad. It can be worse. Let's look at longs versus shorts. We are still around the very highs of longs. We still don't get into my area where we had a breakout of longs in longs exploration, we could call it, if we get it into one, because it will be one of the first times that we are around 74 longs and getting into 90 longs. That definitely needed for a big altcoin season to get into extremes of longs relative to what we have done, as opposed to start breaking down in here and people throwing sponge. Socials are within the highs, but in the context of a kind of a reset. We call a lot of attention in here. We went into 16% social dominance, and now we are in the relative lows, taking just a pullback of being the center of the table. Yeah, I'm gonna cover liquidity now. Liquidity pools. Let's go into that. Yeah, okay, cool. Remember, any questions on the live stream, just write them down there. I'm constantly keeping an eye if there's any of you that wants to know anything specifically. Okay, so on the daily, since we have done so much, this tells me that this is the pivot, not that early pivot in there. It was too early. On the daily, we have produced a breakdown with this red engulfing candle, and we left on the table a little bit of liquidity in here. Let me see what I got. I got enable all the bands, and we bounce off the golden pocket, so that was healthy. That called for this move up. And let's see the extensions. We achieved the extension of 1. I can barely see it. No, we didn't achieve it. Extension of 1 is located at 220. We haven't yet gotten there. We have decent liquidity left over, 200, that could call for a new high in here. And at that point, we take the 213. We have a very fast, sharp decline in liquidity into 277. And we are having our first bullet, first bearish move from after achieving a 2, which is higher than this high. So wow. Okay, so it's taking the bullish move in here is taking a step up relative to the previous move up. So this wave from here to there achieve an RSI of 77, and this one achieve an RSI of 82, almost 83, and it seems to not be yet done because we have a breakdown, but it's not as big. But maybe we need to start looking for a channel. So maybe this can do another move like this and something like that, because we went too high, right? Relative to the previous one, that's already very high. We can do, of course, just a revenge into this point, but I'm tempted to say that maybe we are are gonna get into 78, and that's probably going to manage to consume all of this that we have right there and do a new high. By doing that, we're gonna hopefully close within the golden pocket, and that's all I'm asking for Solana at this point in time, to be realistic. Let's go with the next coin, unless you have any other question with Solana, in which case I can come back to answer that. Go with FARTCOIN. Gosh, the names that they give these days. Right, I think I was using this one. Yeah, this one. Wow, this looks very bullish. It has complete the cup and handle. Yeah, I don't like this rejection though, but last week we managed to get, let's remove the target into here. So their resistance was very, very, very accurate right there at 15766. Let me go into the daily to see why that was the resistance. Yeah, it was resistance on the daily. I have to do TA on the daily of this coin because it's newly listed, and I don't like this move because it's almost like a breakout confirm into 1.7 with people that want to get into $3 or 2.3 depending on how you're measuring your targets, and then it's coming back down. So since it's a meme coin, you have to think that there's a lot of fake moves. So if it was Bitcoin here, I will say, oh, it's losing the breakout, it's a fake out, guys, run away. They drag enough liquidity in here and they're gonna pull you back down into a new low. Since it's a meme coin, it's coming back below the previous range, but it's a meme coin, it's all over the place. It can come back down in here and still put a new high. It's very difficult to trade this thing. It's a lot more difficult than Bitcoin, that's what I mean. So far it's defending that, at least. Let me see what it's defending on the RSI. Yes, it's just coming to retest the daily support. On the weekly, yeah, not much I can do. There's nothing there to watch. On the dailies, it's holding the 55 support after having hit precisely the PNR calculated with statistics, and that is helping to clear the way from too many longs. It's coming into this band. That is an area of value according to this indicator. There's of course another area of value slightly lower thanks to this pinch. You see how meme coins are crazy. 1 minute you have 52 of longs, the next minute you have 29, 20 points in just a very little time. So this could bleed a little bit lower into 31, or you could be in the perfect area of value, but I will say the value is anywhere between where we are and slightly lower up until there is area of value. That means price pinching in here. Ideally you hold this white line to preserve the hopes of those longs that are still looking into higher levels, otherwise they're gonna be forced out of the trade and then you get a deeper correction. Let's look at liquidity. I'm only gonna get it in here by the way. $1 FARTCOIN could be a big danger in here. Where is $1? Oof, it's too far away. It is too far away. So what will be the implication of coming back into $1 to grab that? Yeah, unfortunately it will destroy the cap and handle. Yeah, because it's too deep. It's almost the base of the handle. So ideally I would like to hold this line in there. Let's see where we have the support. 1.2, and then you have 1.4. Yeah, I will say the 1.4 is the most bullish support. Ideally if we can defend that. If we go into 1.2, we are in gray area because we break too many patterns in here, and at that point we're gonna get a breakdown of the RSI, and coming from 71 and then ending up at 46 is just a disaster. But you can see how here you get breakdowns and then you come back up and then you come back here and then another push. It's really, really tough with the meme coins. They are constantly breaking all the rules, defining new rules of trading, really, because they have lower caps, so there's a lot more that they can do with the manipulation. A whale can really, really make big moves in the price. All right, let's move into the next coin. Just a wrap up on FARTCOIN. Let's defend the 55, let's defend the white line, and you got the highest chances of continuation. But if we do that continuation on FARTCOIN, look up for a channel like this and look for moves that start building bearish divergences. How can we achieve? I'm still curious, how can we achieve this 235 if we defend that? Let's look at the previous rally. I'm really curious because this one got into 66, this got into 71, and then it retraced to 55, and it remained hitting the ceiling, the rooftop 1, 2, 3 times, hitting 70. Right, so that's the modus operandi. You get into a very high and then you come in here and you start, instead of you resist the actual channel down straight and you remain into hitting 70 without necessarily needing to put a new high in the momentum. You can just hit 70 and continue to put new highs in the price. That's how they achieve all this move up in there. So watch out for that kind of move that they managed to master all the way in here so many times, and the RSI just putting the same highs. Watch out for that being done in this area and still continuing up if we defend the white line. Good. I think I'm now satisfied with something I will take away to trade FARTCOIN, but I'm not trading FARTCOIN. I don't like trading meme coins. There's a huge reward, but there's a huge risk too. Let's go with ONDO. Let's load the liquidation levels. There you go. It's loading, and let's see what we have achieved. Let's move into the weekly. Wow, what a timing. Yes. Okay. So we form a double bottom. That is the bullish side. Okay, we got bullish case, which is that this double bottom that has already broken out, these are the two sides of the same coin, can still carry on into 62 RSI. It has already hit 54, so there is some headroom. The good thing is that that headroom to still go up into 62 puts us back, help us reclaim the lost support, right? We are flipping things. So once we get into 62, if we defend the new support, we can carry on making another move into the highs, and the highs are located at around 80 RSI. Where is that double bottom? It's already here in front of your face. It's got a neckline at $1, and we are slightly above the neckline. We've been as high as 116, but we are retracing back into the neckline, kind of in a move of doubt from the traders that are taking profits, and I don't blame them. Everybody's now starting to doubt if this is really gonna be a sustainable altcoin season. We've been burned so badly. Look at the performance of this coin coming back down, that the double bottom breakout feels like maybe it's not gonna do it, right? People are taking profits within the breakout area. Interesting. That's typical after such a period of pain. The structure on ONDO, well, it's got a new low in here. It's a double bottom. We haven't taken the lows of October. We got resistance incoming at 1.2 and 1.3. Let's look at again at the RSI. So we say that we are right there at resistance. So definitely, yeah, this is resistance 55. The target of the double bottom is 62. So I need to measure that 62. We know we are facing resistance, and we need to see where is 79. So we got the 79 at the top and 62, which is the target. That's the target of the double bottom. On the RSI is 1.3. On the price, if we measure here this, it is giving us 147. So between 147 and 13 is kind of where we are heading towards. I'm not gonna say that, I take that back. Is the target, the technical target of the breakout. It's not where we are heading. No one knows where any coin is headed, really. Yeah, in the way there is the 137 right below 1.5, and in terms of order block we have the 137. 137 is a tough level, guys, because of the volume, because of the amount of distribution that there was there. Is above 1.4 is where everybody was distributing for the second wave down. On the dead cat bounce, people were thinking we are gonna continue up, but we didn't. So watch out with what 137 if we get there. And longs versus shorts, we're coming back into resistance. So we have resistance all over the place. It's a tough level now to beat. That 56 on the longs, and on the neckline is also tough, and it's tough also because of the RSI 55. That's why we are seeing such trouble in here with ONDO, not to mention that the rest of the market is also having an impact. Okay, let's leave it there. Let's look at the liquidation levels. Our risk at the moment is at 76, not 72. There are no clear massive liquidations on the top at the moment. And reduce this to see it more clear. There you go. And let's go with the next coin. I've got a question. Hi Mariano, have you covered or will you be able to cover Bitcoin dominance? Yeah, we can do some Bitcoin dominance at the end of the video if we still have some time. We have half an hour still, so we should be able. Let's go with PENGU. People are saying that PENGU is gonna be the meme coin of the cycle. I ignore why. Not very well informed in meme coins. We got the weekly resistance right there at 40, and the next one is at 46. So the 46 is precisely where we stop at this high. I can see why. And then we also stop at 40 cents in here. Yeah, we have just 10 minutes. I'm being informed that I have been already streaming for 50 minutes, so I'll keep that in in mind. Maybe I can do the Bitcoin dominance after this one. In terms of RSI, definitely not gonna analyze that one. So on PENGU, I left these drawings last week, and I was saying that probably we're gonna get into here and we're gonna start forming a channel down. So we have done some progress on that. Let's see, today is 24, so around here I was doing the previous live stream, and we talk about a move up like this. We have done very similar. We went into 85. I try to forecast. I'm not gonna always forecast anything so accurate, but sometimes it's accurate. I just like when it's accurate, but many times it's just wrong. You cannot forecast. You can just look at things that are very high likely, and it was very high likely that we make a move up in here. That's it. But sometimes we continue to bleed, and then I'll be wrong today. And we found that top is lower than this one. So let's see the price. Yeah, the price put a high. So we are in territory of daily bearish divergence, and probably most likely we are overdue now for a channel down, and that could be thanks to any bearish moves as we approach August. Remember that either July or August tend to have the highest likelihood to have a red month or some downside to be had, and maybe we can take advantage of that to get this move slightly lower on PENGU. But you know, I don't have any crystal ball, so I don't know what's going to happen really. So far this saw a rejection to this high. This high is extremely important. It's probably the most important high in all the spectrum, and that's by the dollar where people took profits at 46. And it's good that the previous high, the 40, that is a psychological level, and is also the highest weekly close in history, and we are kind of mimicking it again. So the daily highest high is being used for profit taking, and now we are kind of settling at the same weekly resistance from here. So they are using those two levels because that's all we have for reference, and that's why. And since there is a little bit of a retracement in altcoins, while Bitcoin figures what's going to be the next move, because we are just literally sideways with the price action. Yeah, they're still sideways. That's why they're taking some profits in there. And on the daily, I will say, yeah, watch out with that move down. You can see the longs are stepping back a little bit, not that much. From the highs of 80, now at 63, it's not that much. Volatility is calling for a pullback in here, so that's another data point. The previous time we were in the red, we peaked at 17 and we came back down to 8, so that was a decent move down of 55% after we peak in the volatility. Now we are higher than that. Of course, the times are rhyming a lot more with a potential altcoin season. Don't underestimate that either, but we are at the top of the range. We made an 87, higher than this. In the context of that altcoin season, that's understandable. Maybe we put a few more highs in here, but eventually channel down is on around the corner, I will say. If we have a deeper correction, I want to answer that too. So if we lose this 40, we need to hold the 30. As simple as that. We have big trading liquidity around there. We form some sort of cluster of volume, the largest apart from the low range. That's the largest anywhere. So that 30 is what we need to hold to keep this move up. But if we get into 30 cents, then most likely we are well deep here now in the channel down. At that point, you're just watching for moves into lower highs of the RSI. That is all pure alpha, right? You get into here, you hold the 30, big volume, moves down, and then any move up is just a lower high. That means that you can take profits from there as opposed to start expecting that the thing is gonna go really that high. And using the reverse RSI, you know where you are in the price at the moment that you get these expected lower highs on the daily RSI. And if you are wrong, you're wrong. You move on to the next coin. There's no issues. Don't invest everything in a single thing. You have to give room for being wrong and trade with the highest likelihood scenarios, and you should be fine in the overall picture. Now, the problem is that people take this advice as an advice. They take these setups as an advice, and then they put everything into it, and they are in a situation of either I become multimillionaire or either I lose everything. And you know that doesn't work with this in trading. So we got 3 more, and we have Bitcoin dominance. So I think I've been covering Bitcoin dominance, but maybe not in the past video, in the video that went out today. So let me do it now. Dominance, I got it in here. Yeah, this is very unfortunate. They remove all the history of stable coins, and that messed up all my charts. Really annoying from TradingView. I don't know why they did that. We are still holding that support on the dominance at 60%. It's good that we call it when we were approaching it, because that has been holding. And I've been looking now for a retest of the breakdown. So if I magnify what's going on in here, you can see that the purple is coming back. Still looks in the context of retesting the breakdown, the global breakdown on the RSI, and that will be great for altcoin season. Reclaiming in here, as I've been saying, is allowed, but within certain extent. So we can reclaim slightly and then we can still have continuation down. But if we reclaim too high, or if we sustain the move up into the top, that's definitely gonna be the worst case scenario. Getting back into 70 RSI is gonna push the dominance to who knows where in terms of percentage. Definitely a new higher high, 72% or something like that. So that is not something we want. That's why we need to keep an eye on how we close every week with the RSI apply on the weekly to the Bitcoin dominance. And in terms of this chart, we are at the very lows. We've been following this fractal, and we are at the lows in here. I keep getting notifications that we are below 3.9, that I should sell everything according to the fractal. And that's why I moved into an improved version of this chart that was only tracking USDT, but now we have USDC. So I moved into this one that now has fully disappeared. Why the hell is that? It disappeared because they cut the history of this listing, stable C dominance, crypto stable coins dominance, that TradingView had everything, and now they remove it. That is really painful. I can fix it, but it's gonna take too long. I need to bring in USDT dominance plus USDC dominance. That's gonna give me 99% of what I need. But just to give you an update, you're gonna have to imagine this or go back to the previous video. We were in an area of breaking down from an M pattern, and we were below the neckline and continuing into the next support of 6%. So that altcoin season, I was saying that is safe as we get lower in here into that support. And then there is a second target slightly lower, but I think since they removed that and they changed the values, I feel like they mess up even the positioning of this. So let's move on to something else. Let's see how we are doing on total free. The double bottom is doing really good. We are seeing the resistance acting in here at 66. We have a big move up, so this is looking positive. Even if we get lows now into 56, that is going to test the previous support. That you cannot ask for any better than that. It's just a structure forming with swing highs and lows with higher highs and higher lows. Good. Now the next important resistance is going to be 73, which I should have updated here, is around there. 73 is, well, why did I put 72? Well, assuming that it takes a little bit longer, let's say we meet with that around here, be more realistic. That gives you a 1.22 trillion. At that point, keep an eye, because either we break out and we finally achieve the full target, or we see a rejection and continuation down. Let's do this for the last coin in the stream, since I ran out of time already. Can you guys pick between virtual, Ethereum, XRP? First comment, I will do that, and that will be the last coin. It needs to be one of these three: virtual, Ethereum, or XRP. Someone is saying, I promise to not put everything in PENGU. So that's good. All right, let's go with the XRP. XRP is making a lot of news, so definitely we need to look into that. And Ethereum, I've been covering it almost every day, so that should be already kind of covered. Right, people are surprised that we got into 3.6, and we are seeing some resistance. Well, if you're watching the videos, you know that we have resistance right there. We went slightly higher, but actually if we make the line match perfectly with the pivot, you can see that we hit that resistance at 70 by the dollar, okay, or by the RSI value. And these setups of revenge are magnificent. You lose it, you build something bullish, and you come back, and most of the time you test that. Sometimes I tell you, wow, that's very strong. It's very rare that you see something completely ignore the previous lost support. That's a revenge rally, and revenge rally hits 70 and is forming a pivot. It's an intra candle, just like Bitcoin, and we cannot claim now that it played out. It's just so far playing out within the week. By Sunday, we might be pleasantly surprised as longs, if you are long, that this is going higher. Someone was saying in Telegram this week that I've been saying that XRP is gonna go to zero. No, that's wrong. People are putting words in my mouth. I never say it's gonna go to zero. By not trading a coin that I don't like, because I already held it for too many years, that doesn't make me a bear in XRP. I just acknowledge that XRP has misbehaved on me multiple times, and I don't like it. But I've been telling you, whenever we get a hidden divergence, when there is a bullish breakout, how high we can get. So I'm not bearish. Otherwise, I will tell you, no, you don't trade this. I'm just giving you very unbiased TA while at the same time exposing my internal bias, which is I don't like it. I'm not bearish on XRP. Anyways, 70, that in the price was, let's find 70 because this probably is somewhere else. 70 was around here. There you go. And this is how accurate is the call. You know, we got into that revenge rally on the RSI, we hit it, and you know, even if you're a swing trader and you hit that 70 and you see the price slightly higher and you take profits above 70, then by the weekly close you end up there. Well, that was an amazing call, right? Now what happens after this can be anything. We could put new highs, but we need to see. If this weekly closes above 3.4, that puts us in the not very likely scenario, which is to really disrespect this resistance and carry on into a new high. Can we do that? Yes, we can do that, because there is so much expectation from retail to get ETF and all these banking integrations and things that get everybody to trade XRP, and XRP could put a new high. But notice in what context we are doing that. After we lost all this momentum, doing that is less likely on the technical point of view. So I prefer personally to not bet on what retail believes. I prefer to find other setups that are looking better than a revenge rally already fulfilled. You are basically in here, if you enter at these prices, you are saying something that has 10% of happening from the point of view of technical. You are completely ignoring that and saying, yeah, but we should go higher because, you know, there's so many fundamentals. So I'm going to trade against weekly resistance in the worst setup ever in history, and I'm going to carry on. Can it play out? Sure. But, you know, you are not trading for the long term if you do that, because it could play out, but in the long run, if you trade always like that with those emotions, you're going to get burned more often than not. Right. What else on XRP? Of course, liquidation levels. Longs are at the very extreme and they're already getting burned with this move down here. That is a decent move down of longs. So if we get back into the area of value on this line, that will be probably a golden entry, just like this one. I talk about it for months that this was an area of value, or that we were very close to an area of value. How can I be so bearish on XRP if I'm telling you that, right? Then if we come back there, we could get another golden. But I will say that now there's been a decent it's been a decent hit for the longs. Therefore, if we hold now this $3 as new support there, we can put a new line in there, because this close around here. So let's say $3 holds, and we got the biggest chances of continuation up, definitely. Right. So sorry, I'm not gonna do Ethereum today. I'm gonna do it in a separate video. I'm already exhausted with the trip. I traveled all day, and I did the Bitcoin video and this one twice, because the first time the electricity cut. So I hope you appreciate I'm still doing it. And remember, guys, I'm doing this every week, and next week we're gonna do PineScript. But apart from the last Thursday of every month, I do weekly private sessions with my elite members. You can join with the link appearing in the screen and in the description. This video is gonna go live tomorrow on Friday, so if you're watching this for free, you know, if this is something that you would like to be part of, consider joining. And people say it's good value. That's a huge amount of value, and I'm happy to hear that. And I'm gonna leave Ethereum for a separate video. I think tomorrow I should have time to do full in-depth of Ethereum, and that should compensate not that I couldn't do that video. ONDO, I did ONDO. It's earlier in the video. If you're late today, you can watch it also tomorrow in the shorter version. And may I know why you do not like XRP? Yeah, that's a long story, but I explained that I held it for too long, and I like to trade things that I feel happy trading. In XRP, I held it so long, and I kept that for years. I saw my red bag of XRP. So I promise that once I get into hundreds of percent of profits on XRP, I will just gonna close it and never trade it again. Some people might say that that's a emotional reaction. But yeah, I guess in a way, yes. But in another way, it's also being very disciplined. Like when you make a mistake, you promise yourself that you're gonna do things in certain way. And by respecting those decisions, you're also being disciplined. Okay? So if you don't like something, if it doesn't work for you, and you tell yourself, no, I'm never gonna do that, do it that way, right? Despite the fact that people tell you, yeah, but you're not doing it because you're being emotional. Well, of course I'm being emotional. emotional. I didn't enjoy that thing. Now my rational side say I'm gonna take these trades and I'm gonna do this in this way, and that's what I'm trying to respect. So I hope that that's giving the good side of the picture as a takeaway or motivational thing for you guys. And if it's the case, hit the like and write down a comment down below. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye bye.